Gentlemen, welcome to the Sons of the Desert 5th International Convention. Welcome to Philadelphia.
We are the Sons of the Desert, having the time of our lives, marching along, 2,000 strong, far from our sweethearts and wives, God bless them. Tramp, 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 the boys are marching, and dancing to this melody. Sons of the desert are we.
The Sons of the Desert are a group of insane people that love Laurel and Hardy. It's based on the 1933 film Sons of the Desert.
Brothers, Sons of the Desert, we are all familiar.
Laurel and Hardy are in a Shriners-like organization by that same name. They go to a convention in Chicago. And on that basis, the Sons of the Desert was founded by John McCabe in 1965.
I found that there were a lot of people who loved Laurel and Hardy who had no focus for that love. And I didn't want to found a fan club. So I said, Stan, what if I got a little group together, a group of buffs, and we would meet every so often, show the films and talk about the making of the films and so on. He said, great. He said, this won't be a fan club. I said, no. So that's how the Sons of the Desert was born. I wrote its constitution, and it has grown far beyond anything I ever dreamed of in terms of size and, if I might say so, quality.
Where's the man asking the questions?
I was standing in the lobby about the day before last, and a man saw up on the wall, Sons of the Desert. And he said to a friend, what's that? Who's that? And his friend said, oh, it's probably a bunch of those damn Arabs. If I had to describe you all, and I mean this quite literally, if I had to describe you to, say, a newspaper interview, I would say they are a set of odd, charming, curious, misplaced cherubs.
Is my name badge in here?
That's what I think of you.
Good.
It's in the bag. From the picture of the same name.
Never mind.
Lotta, LHOTA. You should find me in there somewhere.
Here you are, yes. All right, I guess this will do. This is your banquet tickets.
Oh, good, thanks. Are the children coming to any of the banquets?
Yes.
You get this. You get this. You get
Wait,
this.
you get one?
And
Oh, well,
you get this. Thank you so much. The bellboy will help you to your room. Thank you so much. We're closed.
The Sons of the Desert get together every 2 years for the main purpose of having fun, but they are knowledgeable film buffs who take their comedy seriously. Laurel and Hardy memorabilia is carefully preserved and displayed at their week-long convention as if it were a national treasure, which to a true Son of the Desert, it is.
My husband was Art Lloyd. He was cameraman for Laurel and Hardy. And it was quite some time. I didn't even know there was this organization. And one day I was visiting over in the motion picture home. And they said, why don't you go to the Sons of the Desert meetings? I had never heard of them. So they had me come over one. And I've been hooked ever since.
Somebody found me, and I used to be in the Our Gang comedies. And we had the little Our Gang reunion at that time, part of the convention.
What is your interest in Stan and Babe?
Well, they were personal friends of mine because we knew them on a lot.
Any stories come to mind about them?
No, except that they were two of the greatest fellows that ever lived, and they treated a child like a human, not like a little child.
Yes, I'm Bill Cubbin from Ulverston, England, Stan Laurel's hometown. I have the world's only Laurel and Hardy Museum. I'm very privileged to have many items from Stan's home in Argyle Street, many books, pictures, and I have over 90 films of the 105 films that Laurel and Hardy made. I'm doing a lot of research in England on the life of Stan Laurel, from his birth in Ulverston on June 16, 1890, to his schooling and where he was christened and all these things. His name was Arthur Stanley Jefferson, and he's changed his name to Stan Laurel around about 1916 for two reasons. One was that he felt that Stan Jefferson, 13 letters, was unlucky, and the other reason was he thought if he had a shorter name, it would look bigger on the billing. Ollie was Oliver Norval Hardy. He was born 2 years later than Stan, in January 1892, in a small town called Harlem, Georgia. And, of course, the great pair met.
Oliver Hardy was known as Babe to his friends, and he first appeared with Stan Laurel in this 1919 classic called Lucky Dog. Films starring the boys ran day and night throughout the convention, as did some rather unusual contests.
Well, the Pee Wee contest originates from the film Babes in Toyland, also known as March of the Wooden Soldiers. Stan has the Pee Wees, which he uses as a toy throughout the film, and he hits the Pee Wee on the end, flipping it into the air, and then hitting it thusly. Now, in theory, the Pee Wee is to fly out and return a la boomerang. It rarely happens at a contest such as this because they don't have Stan's technique down, but a Pee Wee, in theory, should return. I guess we're going for distance here, actually.
Okay, Tracy, what was Stan's name, his character's name, in Flying Elephants?
Little Twinkle Star.
When I did a first draft of the Constitution, which Stan helped me with, he said, the only thing that I ask is that everyone have a good time and that the group have a kind of a half-assed dignity about it. So we have maintained that dignity right to the button through the years.
Okay, this will probably be the last question. In one good turn, what was the amount Ollie thought he had sold the car for?
Sold for $125.
Correct!
I announce to you the winner, the man with a perfect score. Tracy Miles Tolson of the Block!
Thank you very much. This is such a shock. And I just wish I had a few moments to gather my thoughts and come up with something relevant to say. But I'll just say that this is just another fine mess I've gotten myself into.
Speech therapy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I came to England as a graduate student. I was studying Shakespeare. And as I was going down the street, I saw a big sign that said Laurel and Hardy in Birds of a Feather. I thought I knew all their films, but that was a new one to me. So I went over to the theater, the Hippodrome, and I found to my delight that they were there in person. They were appearing in vaudeville, English Music Hall, and Stan was the author of a little sketch in which they get jobs as whiskey tasters, and in order to celebrate getting such marvelous jobs, they go out and drink 3 or 4 doubles. So it ends up that Hardy is in the hospital, having decided at one point in their celebration that he was a bird and could fly. And he said to Stan in the scene, well, why didn't you stop me? And Stan said, because I thought you could fly.
I must say it is a privilege to come all this way to be invited to the Sons of the Desert.
What do you think of it so far?
Our membership, I never envisioned being anything more than about 10 or 12 guys. And now it's gone into not only all cities of this nation and Canada, but abroad and ranging, which is my delight, from people 80 to kids of 12.
Most of the tents or local chapters of the Sons of the Desert take their names from a Laurel and Hardy film.
There are, I think, about 60 all across the world. Yeah, I guess we have a tent in Romania.
I'm Steve Wachorowski Jr. I'm from the Pardon Us tent, which is located at the maximum security prison in Somers, Connecticut. In order to get into this tent, you must commit a felony crime in the state of Connecticut and have the judge sentence you to Somers Prison. And then once you get in, you can join up, and your dues are $1 for a lifetime membership.
The Constitution of the Sons of the Desert is a lesson for all of us who take ourselves too seriously. Article 5 states that the Grand Sheik and his board members shall have absolutely no authority whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, be seated. Where?
Article 6. Despite his absolute lack of authority, the Grand Sheik or his deputy shall act as chairman at all meetings and will follow the standard parliamentary procedure in conducting same.
I'd just like to show you how to hit somebody with a tomato.
At the meetings, it is hoped that the innate dignity, sensitivity, and good taste of the members assembled will permit activities to be conducted with a lively sense of deportment and good order. And Article 7 is, Article 6 is ridiculous.
Article 8 is as close to Robert's Rules of Order as they come. It states that the annual meeting shall be conducted in the following sequence. A. Cocktails. B. Business meeting with cocktails. C. Dinner with cocktails. D. After-dinner speeches with cocktails and appropriate toasts.
Stan Laurel. To Babe.
To Finn. To Maplish and Charlie Hall, may they be ever popular.
To dear Al, whose escutcheon tells us who we are.
Here, 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 here.
E.
Cocktails.
F. Coffee.
With cocktails!
G. Showing of Laurel and Hardy films. H. After film critique and cocktails.
And I assure you, out of the omniscience of three scotches, of the omniscience of my youth.
But any critic taking more than 8.5 minutes on the floor shall have their cocktails limited to 14. I. After film critique and cocktails. J. Members are instructed to park their camels, hire a taxi, and have one for the desert.
Come on.
The Sons of the Desert escutcheon incorporates a Latin phrase with the ultimate Laurel and Hardy tribute.
The Latin phrase means two minds without a single thought.
Tell us where you're from.
Stan Laurel's hometown. Well, it's just a small place, about 10,000 people that way, and it's always been that. Every time there's a baby born, there's a man leaves town, you see, so there's still 10,000 there now, when in my day. You got that?
Well, I always thought my father was a very funny daddy. And when I was too young to know that, I thought my dad just had a job. He went off to work in the morning and came home at night, and I thought he was funny. And then when I got to an age where, when they told me to be quiet, I would keep my mouth shut, then I was taken to the studio, and I just loved to watch them work. And, of course, he was funnier on the set than he was at home, because there were very, very funny scenes that I would see being shot. And I dearly loved Oliver Hardy. He was such a big, warm, gentle man. And he used to put me on his knee and sing Shine on Harvest Moon to me when I would go and visit the set. And they didn't have children. So, in a sense, I had two daddies.
Shine on, harvest moon, up in the sky. I ain't had no loving since January, April, June or July. Snow time, tain't no time to stay outdoors and spoon. Shine on, harvest moon, for me and my gal.
In fact, the New York Times called, we weren't home, and they left a message on our answering machine and said, do we indeed have the right number for the daughter of Laurel and Hardy? They were really closer than brothers, because in family there's always family squabbles and so forth. And my mother can never even remember one crossword between the two of them.
Okay, I'm Thomas Benton Roberts, now in California, formerly of Scranton, Pennsylvania. My formal training was industrial engineering, which gave me a good basis training for the technical work I did at Hal Roach Studios, and also a musician. But through being a musician, I got into the Hal Roach Studios by leading the employees band. And then they said, well, to be in the band, I had to work there. So they said, what do you do? I said, I can do anything. I started the third day I was there. I was the standby carpenter on Our Gang comedies. And then between times, if we weren't shooting an Our Gang comedy, they'd shove me over with Laurel and Hardy. And actually, I was a technician, but they called us at that time, not special effects men, but standby carpenters. And so at $1 an hour. But we were working. You know, at that time in 25, 26, jobs weren't too plenteous. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. Whatever the script called for, why we'd have to devise and create really something that'll work.
In addition to building the trick cars in the films, Thomas Benton Roberts also built the famous music box.
Well, I made the box itself out of balsa wood so they could carry it. And I had to glue that. Of course, you can't work balsa wood with nails, and you just had to fake it. But, I mean, it was mostly glued together. And so they could carry it up and down, you know, and be able to handle it. But the piano we bought for $10 in those days. You could buy any kind of an old piano for anything at all. We bought 3 of them at the time, so have plenty of backups on it, you know, because once you ruined it, you couldn't put it back together, so you drag the other piano in and use it.
I'm invited on the trip because I had worked with Laurel and Hardy on 3 movies.
What did you do with them?
Well, I did the lead in Babes in Toyland, Tom Tom, in which I did the singing lead. Then I did the singing featured part in The Bohemian Girl. And then I appeared in a movie that I didn't know I was going to appear in, which was Pick a Star. I did a test, and they used the test in the movie, and I never got paid for it. So I did 3 movies with Laurel and Hardy. There was an episode that was recorded that during the filming of Babes in Toyland, Stan was missing some of the time. Stan, it seems, found himself with 2 wives. He'd gone to Mexico and got a divorce, but it didn't hold up in the California court. So he had to run back to Mexico and get another divorce.
While some members took part in the Oliver Hardy golf tournament, still others journeyed to the simplicity of Amish country to offer up their own brand of Pennsylvania Dutch.
I've come from England, where Stan Jefferson was born. And so I do feel I sort of know Stan and where he lives and what his house was like. And he's a real Lancashire comedian to me, but then I'm Lancashire too, from England, you see, so I feel he's very much my comic. But I think it's lovely to come and see the countryside that people came to from Europe and from Britain to found themselves a new world. I think this is lovely. It's sensible and hard-working and lasting. I like this. This is real.
Hey, Stan! Look! I'm over here! Well, here's another nice mess you've gotten me into.
Ollie, is that really you?
Of course it's me.
Gee, I'm glad to see you.
There, all right. We are the sons of the desert. You're lovely, aren't you, eh?
In the film Sons of the Desert, Stan and Ollie tell their wives they're going to Honolulu for Ollie's health. Instead, they sneak off to the convention. So with that in mind, these Sons of the Desert hold a luau. Don't worry, it's not supposed to make sense.
He goes into another part.
We've been to the convention, had a swell time, going home in the morning, and nobody's any the wiser.
The climax of the convention came when volunteers reconstructed the set from the Laurel and Hardy film Babes in Toyland. And no, folks, you're not looking at the cast. This is the audience.
Oh, yay! The town crier of Toyland!
This event that we're attending is the Babes in Toyland banquet. They've recreated the entire set inside in the dining room. We're going to see some specific scenes recreated from Babes in Toyland on our set with some of our own actors.
Give me just a little more time. I'm sorry. The law must take its call.
My daughter, who lives in Alexandria, was reading the paper one night, and they were advertising Babes in Toyland. So she called and asked if she could see it. And they said, well, yes, of course. And she said, well, is it the uncut or cut version? There are two versions. One I'm out and the other one I'm in. And he said, well, I don't know why. And she said, well, my mother was Mother Goose. And he just almost yelled, you mean Virginia Carnes? And she said, yes. Well, make a long story short, he invited her over and with my granddaughters to the meeting, and she told some excerpts of things that she had called me and asked me about. And then they knew I was coming to Washington, so they called me and wrote to me and asked me if I'd stay over for their big banquet that they'd sent. So that's how I got started. And I've just had a ball ever since. I've gotten more fan mail lately, and it's just been wonderful, very nostalgic.
We are the sons of the desert, having the time of our lives.
We are, I like to think, buffs. Buffs are those people who I think understand that the thing they like or admire is not perfect. And as you recall, Stan himself said that the films of Laurel and Hardy were far from being perfect, to which we can answer, but are there any better comedy films? And the answer, I think, it speaks for itself.
The secret of making eternal films is deal with eternal situations. You don't do jokes about who's the president. You don't do jokes about the current fads. You do jokes about things that are always funny, and it's the same thing that made them funny worldwide, because the kind of situations that existed between them were humorous all over the world.
I think what underlies it basically is that everyone is interested in something that's good. If you see something that's professional and you like it, you first of all like it. But if you have an inquiring mind, as most of our members do, you want to know, how did that thing come to be? It had to have some kind of beginning. So in a way, we're interested in genesis of art. And that sounds a little pompous, but it's not really. Because of interest, human interest, curiosity. We all have it.
And it's that interest that keeps the Sons of the Desert actively fighting to preserve old films and introduce the joys of Laurel and Hardy to children and senior citizens alike. So it's with a touch of sadness another convention comes to a close. Clearly no one wanted to go home.
I wonder what time the train leaves for Paris.
The sooner the better for me.
Say, which way to the depot? just around the corner.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
We had as much fun here as we would have had in Honolulu, and no one is any the wiser.